When you go to the mechanic, you know that it's either going to be a headache or it's going to be a pain in your wallet. So this brings the question, why is car ownership so expensive? Actually, why is car repair so expensive? And the answer might be simpler than you think. Let's start off with your typical trip to the mechanic. You go to the dealership and you get quoted for an oil change. They want to charge you $300, $400, $500, but then you go to an independent shop and their prices are $200, $250 for an oil change. Then you look how much it would cost to do it yourself, and all the costs only add up to $75, $100. So where is all this additional cost coming from? Clearly, you're just getting ripped off. There's a good reason why your friends and family typically tell you to go to a mechanic you know or trust. It's because otherwise, you're most likely to get ripped off or scammed. At the end of the day, the more a mechanic can charge you for any additional add-ons or things you might not need right away is more money in their pockets. And we all know we all want to make money. But sadly, when mechanics try to make more money, they end up charging you more or overcharging you for things you do not need and that you do not need to pay for. Now let's take a look at some of the most common repair jobs done on some of the most common cars on the road. For example, Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic, Nissan Sentra, Nissan Altima, or maybe some other generic common cars. Starting off with a brake job, typically you'd go to the Honda dealership and you'd be looking at around $600 to $800 to do this brake change. If you take it to an independent shop, you'd be looking at around $400 to $500 to do your brakes. Cheaper than the dealership, but still expensive. And finally, if you buy the brakes yourself at partsavatar.ca, a front brake kit is only $155. This would only take you about an hour to do, counting half an hour for each side. Now, let's break it down. At the dealership, you're looking to pay $600 to $800. The brake kit would cost about $400, and they would charge you about 3 hours of labor at $100 per hour, resulting in a total cost of $700. An independent shop, you'd be looking at $350 for the brake kit, 2 hours of labor at $80 per hour, resulting in $510. Then, the final and cheapest option, doing the brakes yourself. The brake kit only costs $155 and you can get it done in 1 or 2 hours, maybe even 3, but at that point, you're still saving money. Do you see that you're getting ripped off yet, or do we need more examples? Maybe brakes are too simple of an example. Let's do something that you typically wouldn't do yourself, like shocks and struts. For this example, let's take a look at a Nissan Sentra. Going to the dealership, you'd be looking at paying $150 for each side spring and then $150 for each side strut. Then they would tackle on brand new hardware, and even though your existing hardware is fine, you'd still be looking at around $400 per side just in parts. Then the labor would be quoted at 3 hours per side, including a test drive. So at $100 per hour at Nissan, you're looking at $600 of labor, totaling out at $1,400. Now, an independent shop will be cheaper. $200 per strut assembly and 3 hours of labor per side plus the test drive. They would also reuse the good hardware and not just put on new bolts if not needed. At a labor rate of $80 per hour, you're looking at $400 of labor. All in, $800, way cheaper than the dealership. But you know what's even cheaper? Doing it yourself. At partsavatar.ca, we have a complete strut assembly at $150 per side. And you can complete this job in 2 hours of labor per side yourself, all done for only $300. Now, an example we've already touched on, but a more accurately priced one. A Mercedes A service at the dealership is $750 plus tax. This service consists of an oil change with a fresh oil filter, air filter, cabin air filter, fluid top-ups, and that includes the labor and all. An independent European shop would typically charge $550 for the service using OEM parts. But when I do this service myself, which is super easy, all the OE filters and oil is only $200 all in. And it's only about an hour of work to complete. So every time that I had gone to the dealership under warranty to get work completed, I was getting ripped off over $550 more than I should have paid. How are they able to do this, and how do they get away with it? It's quite simple. Let's start off with the basic components, the actual parts. There's a markup at every stage of buying car parts. There's the manufacturer, the supplier, the reseller, then the dealership, as they always like to tackle on a little fee for the customer. So you end up paying $200 to $300 or $400 for a part that's only $60, $70, or $80. But that's why the right to repair exists, and it's aimed to put the power back in your hands when fixing your car. You might be wondering, is the right to repair movement something of the now or something that's been around for a while? Well, the answer is that it's been around for a while. Since the 80s and 90s, the right to repair movement has been a staple in the automotive and machining community. A great example of this is the OBD2 coding system. OBD2 is actually a form of coding that's used in your vehicle to identify and diagnose what's wrong with the car. Before OBD2 existed, each manufacturer had their own specified coding systems for their platforms. And it wasn't until the US government mandated and standardized OBD2 that you were able to go out and just buy a simple scan tool and scan your car and see what's wrong with it. Obviously, when OBD2 just came out, the scanners were quite expensive, ranging from $300 to $1,500. And that's still true today. You can go on Amazon and buy a cheap OBD2 scanner for $30, or you can end up paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for a specific snap-on or large name brand tool that is able to diagnose and tell you everything wrong with the car. I mean, it can tell you specific body modules, take out airbag lights, and figure out many other things that $30 Amazon scanner will not be able to do. Obviously, the features and skills of these different scanners work differently, but a basic OBD2 scanner will be able to tell you what's wrong with your car. So sometimes when you go to the mechanic, you'd be able to go in knowing what's wrong, and if the mechanic tells you one thing, but you already know one thing, you can say, hey, hold up, this is what's wrong with the car, not that. So it kind of gives you more clarity when going to the mechanic yourself. Now, you might think if you have one of these OBD2 scanners, it would make finding and attempting to work on your car much easier. You'd be right. And at partsavatar.ca, we have an online chat where our customer service team will help you find the correct parts for your car and exactly what you need to get the job done. In addition, we also have the tools you might need. So if you need a socket set or a certain specialty tool, we'll actually be able to ship you those parts and tools all together so you can get the job done in one go. Moving on to the topic of OEM versus aftermarket parts. Aftermarket parts are sometimes made by the same OEM suppliers and in some cases even better than the factory parts. Let's take the example of our own 335i here. From the factory, it comes with a plastic transmission fluid pan. This pan does get brittle over time or is prone to cracking from road debris like rocks or other things that may be found on the road. So what do we do in this case? The OEM part is still a plastic part, but when replacing it, aftermarket suppliers do offer an aluminum pan. This means that the pan will no longer be brittle and it won't be as prone to debris on the road. So when a rock goes up and hits it, it won't crack like plastic. These parts are not available from the OEMs, and we only have to go to the aftermarket suppliers in order to get these parts. As much as OEM parts are great, sometimes cost savings for a manufacturer trumps a brand name when you get the exact same product. So what about buying these OEM parts directly from the manufacturer and not the dealer? Those are the items you want, and they're exactly what we carry. For example, factory Toyota Corolla struts are manufactured by KYB. You can buy the KYB replacements directly from Parts Avatar and save yourself the dealer markup while getting the exact same part, or sometimes even better, as you have revisions of the product from the original manufacturer that the dealer does not get. So you'd be buying the same parts with those same common issues. Our commitment to quality ensures that every part we offer meets the highest standards. Our customers trust us to deliver excellence, so we take pride in being their go-to source for automotive parts. So whether you're a DIY enthusiast or a seasoned mechanic, Parts Avatar is here to support you on your car repair journey. Join us in championing the right to repair and making car repairs more accessible and affordable for all. It's not just about fixing cars, it's about empowering car owners and putting the power back in your hands and money back in your pockets. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any automotive needs, you can find more information at partsavatar.ca. Remember, Parts Avatar has got your back, so don't forget to subscribe to the Parts Avatar channel so you don't miss any of these exciting videos.